Hey everyone, it's Reverend Dr. Katie. Merry Christmas a few days early. I hope you're doing really well. You can probably hear from my voice. I'm still recovering from a cold. That's why there's been no videos recently because I just haven't been able to speak. It's been kind of one of those seasons. So want to talk to you today about tuning in to the magic of the Christmas season. This is super fun. It's a wonderful time of year to kind of tune into that energy, tune into the meaning making that you can have in your own journey. Just putting this out there, I know the holidays can be really tricky too this time of year, so it's also a time to honor your feelings. If you're feeling like you're having a blue Christmas, there's no reason you have to make yourself artificially happy. Just do the things that are going to support you. I have a whole article about that, so I'm going to make sure that that gets posted in the comments below as well, so you can tune into that, what to do if you're having a blue Christmas. Okay, the energy and the magic of the Christmas season. There was a few FAQs that I'm going to answer here, so questions that you all wrote in, and we're going to talk a little bit about Christmas and the energy and the Bible story too of the holiday. So this is a time of year where in the Northern Hemisphere, we are winding up to the shortest day of the year, and that is tomorrow, December 21st, at the time when I'm recording this. And Christmas falls right into that season where the days are very short and the nights are very long. So this is a beautiful time for that introspection. And I'm always reminded of what Mary says in the Gospel of Luke, that she takes all of these things and she ponders them in her heart. So to me, that is one of the beautiful things that we can do this time of year, is to enter into this time of reflection and contemplation and maybe taking stock of the year, taking stock of the season. So this is the energy that I'm talking about. The energy around Christmas time is one of actual deep introspection. Now, the busyness of the holidays and cooking and family and meals and lights and presents and shopping and all of that can actually be very stressful, encourages us not to do that self-reflection. So I'm going to encourage all of you to do something a little bit different. Make sure that you pause, that you have some time for prayer, for meditation, because that's how you actually tune into the energy of the season. It's a wonderful time to reflect on the message of Christ in your own life and just do all that holy work. And that's what actually sets you up for the coming year. So that I actually do a lot on the solstice, the actual shortest night of the, longest night of the year, shortest day of the year, and then that kind of transgresses on into the Christmas season. So the 12 days of Christmas actually start on December 25th and go through January 6th. So that's a really nice time to take those 12 days and do a little contemplation, a little reflection every day. Set yourself up for the year. So this is actually not the energetic season for go, go, go. Although the holidays would kind of have us think otherwise, it is the energetic time for turning in and for seeing what is on your heart and what new things is God putting on your heart. What have you been putting off for this whole year that you can bring into focus right now and maybe for the year to come? So a few questions we had about Christmas, and I want to make sure we answer these. So one is, why do we celebrate this on December 25th? Was Jesus really born then? Probably not. So we're going to do some big backtracking here. We have two stories about the birth of Jesus. They're only in the Gospel of Matthew and in the Gospel of Luke. The Gospel of Mark and the Gospel of John have nothing about the birth of Jesus. It's really, really likely that these stories were added onto the Gospels later, like after they were written, because people were curious about the birth of Jesus. But the stories are very, very different. They don't say a month and a day in the Roman calendar and the Jewish calendar that Jesus was born. So they're kind of not interested in that. People were not quite as obsessed with birthdays in the ancient world as we are today. The first date that we see, December 25th, and the celebration of Christmas is not until the year 366. So 4 centuries almost after the actual birth of Jesus. Now, undoubtedly, by the time it gets written down, people are already doing it. We don't know exactly how early people started to celebrate Christmas and when it got assigned the date December 25th, but by the year 366. And most likely, it gets assigned that date because that's when non-Christians in the Roman Empire were honoring the solstice. They were honoring the longest night of the year. The energy of this time, it coincides with several Roman feast days and holidays, including a god that comes from Persia and becomes a god of that's very popular among Roman soldiers actually, who's called Mithras. And Mithra's birthday was on December 25th. So it's likely that this was a very convenient holiday for Christians to also celebrate the winter season. And so Christmas gets placed on that date. The Gospel of Luke specifically says that the shepherds are out and there's lambs. And so it would make more sense to me if we take that story literally, which I do not, that Jesus would be born in the spring. But it doesn't really matter exactly what day Jesus was born on. December 25th is the agreed upon day that we celebrate it, and we get to tune into this winter magic, into this really beautiful Christmas magic. Those of you in the Southern Hemisphere, make whatever adaptations you need to, given the season that you are in. If it's closer to summertime and springtime where you are, then hey, you can tap into that energy too, for those shepherds, kind of that shepherd and that lambing energy. So that's one question. The other one I saw come through was, why are these stories so different? Well, these stories are so different because the Gospel of Matthew and the Gospel of Luke are really different. They don't tell exactly the same story. We have a tendency in Christianity to want all of these to smack them together and make them all one and the same. And that's how we tell the story in our Christmas pageants. You put some kids in robes and some kids would give them a shepherd's crook, and then some you put halos on, and you sort of mash all the stories together. But I think they're really wonderful if we let them stand on their own. So the Gospel of Matthew is very concerned to show that Jesus is the foretold king. And so that's why we have the Magi, we have these priests coming in from another land, and they're offering Jesus these really not practical gifts like gold, frankincense, and myrrh. Not at all practical for a baby, but they sure do show that Jesus is the prophesied king. The Gospel of Luke is very interested in showing Jesus as a humble and frail servant. And so in this story, that's really the story of Mary. And the Gospel of Matthew has the story of Joseph. In the Gospel of Luke, Jesus is presented as someone who is humble. The humblest people come to visit him like shepherds. And it's the shepherds that have the angels sing to them, not the kings. And so we just have two really different theological emphases that are different in the Gospels. So they tell the story in really different ways. To me, it doesn't really matter if they are literally true. They're probably not. What matters is the energy of the story. And what matters is that we can take elements from each story and bring those into our own journey. So for instance, in the Gospel of Matthew, where the Magi visit the Christ child, from the very beginning, we see that the Christian story is told in an interfaith way, because those priests were not Jewish. There were no Christians. They are coming from a different religion, following the star. You can't get much more metaphysical than this. Astrology and interfaith stuff all rolled into one. Excuse me, still getting over my cold. And so they present Jesus with these gifts. And so to me, the question I love to ask is, where am I showing my gifts? How am I showing up with my gold and my frankincense, my myrrh? Where am I giving my very, very best in service to the Christ child, in service to the birth of love and justice into the world? When I look at the Gospel of Luke, I think, where am I allowing myself to become humble? Where am I honoring those who are humble and are lowly in stature in the world? Where do I see angels singing to people around the world that may not get the limelight? So two really different questions, but they encourage me to think about the story in two really different, profound ways, both of which are really valuable. So that's why we have two different Christmas stories in the Gospels. So I hope that that's helpful. So this is time to tap into the magic. You have the winter energy, you have this kind of magi, kingly energy, and then you have this humble angel shepherd energy. They're all beautiful energies. I'll come to you later on in the week. We'll talk a little bit more about that Mary energy and maybe even the Joseph energy as we are ready to celebrate the birth of love into the world. Comment below. Let me know what aha moments you have, any other questions that you have, and I will talk to you all soon.